Okay, hello, greetings and welcome. All right, so this video is on the fundamentals of alchemy. When you're working with alchemy, it's the transformation of energy between the physical vital level, the astral field, the mental field, akasha, and light. Now you're bringing energy from light with information and separating into the mental, astral, and you're making it dual to bring energy into form. And you're also bringing energy out of form and transforming energy up into light. And this creates a type of efficiency in your ability to transform up and then bring it back down again. Because when you bring it up, the tendency is for it to want to return, but you've reorganized the information so that it's of a higher, clearer frequency. This is one of the benefits of alchemy. Now, to move between these levels, there's three fundamental qualities that you need to understand. How the mind accesses the vital field, the feeling qualities that accompany that access, and the mechanics which support, generate volume within that state. So when you're vital breathing, you'll find there's a mechanical framework that's required to you to accumulate and access vital energy. So this feeling of life force, you put your will on the stretch, the breath, and then put it in the space between your hands, and you accumulate the will, breath, and stretch into a type of life force. Life force naturally arises. So there's a particular mechanics of the body which is required to perform that. That mechanics needs to be guided by the feeling. So you feel the energy, and the feeling guides the mechanics to produce more. So the mind is tuning the feeling, tuning the mechanics, tuning the feeling, tuning the mechanics to create more vital force. And this is your basics of Qigong, whole body pore breathing, vital energy breathing, and so forth in the Hermetic and Qigong and Taoist traditions. Now, as you develop this skill set, you want to be able to move the energy from this vital level to the astral. And to do that, there's a release of time, a slowing down of the energy. So most traditions will use the tuning of the breath method. We just breathe in really slowly, pause at the end of the breath, enter equanimity, breathe out really slowly, pause at the end of the breath, enter equanimity, and release time. And this makes the energy really thick, condenses. Now there's a mechanical quality difference between vital and astral. When you're in the vital feeling, there's a change of tension from muscle to fascia, but there's still tension. And you're subject to the gravity of hanging the joints, hanging the muscles, opening everything up, and having like you're pushing a car with the facial web of your body. Now, as you go to the astral, the mechanics are you're floating in water. It's a fluidic quality. So the mechanics change. And the more you develop the vital, when you hit the mechanics, that's the ritual to activate and open the flow of vital feeling. When you develop the astral, the mechanics of the astral body, the feeling of this fluidic quality in the body, becomes the ritual to open up more feeling and your mind to access the astral plane. Now, depending on your method of training, how you were taught, you may access the vital and astral through your mind tuning into it, and then your mechanics expressing itself as a product of feeling. Or your teaching tradition may focus on the mechanics of it, and the feeling arises from the mechanics, and your mind becomes more aware of what it's doing. So you can go mechanics, feeling, and then the mind refines that relationship, or go mind tunes into the feeling, and then follows the law of releasing and slowing everything down, and then the mechanics get expressed out of the feeling. Now, if you understand all these three, that you tune the mind to the correct frequency, you tune the feeling to the correct frequency, and the mechanics to the correct frequency, you get fusion of the three bodies. And this is a bridge into the level that you're working on. So if you're bridging into the astral, thank you. Perfect. If you're bridging into the astral, then your mind needs to go into equanimity momentarily. It raises into the astral state, it tunes to the feeling of the astral field, and then it opens up the body mechanics so the astral field can open through your astral body and flow through the Tai Chi or whatever art you're training. So this type of esoteric psychology of the three bodies, the mind frequency, the feeling, and the body mechanic applies to all levels, no matter what level you're on. When you're in Wu Ji, in the Akasha, you have the drunken body. Your body will feel drunk. There's no boundary, and you're balanced that way, you fall forward, there's no boundary back. So all Akasha training are drunken body type of exercises. These drunken body mechanics, when you go to the mechanic, you activate the memory of the Akasha, and the Akasha opens and you start flowing. This is how rituals are built. So if the ritual is built strongly enough to teach someone the Akasha, you just teach them the ritual and the Akasha opens. They don't know why it works, they just have the experience. But if you're a Hermeticist, that's not good enough. You've got to understand what are the laws that allow my mind to tune to this frequency? What are the laws that allow me to generate the flow of Akasha through the feeling of it? And what are the laws that regulate the mechanics of that particular quality? So we've looked at this from a vital energy level, and now we've investigated from the astral. So equanimity is the elevator for the mind. You have to make your mind momentarily still to move to vital, to move to astral, to move to mental, move into Wuji Akasha, and to move into non-dual light. Equanimity is the conductor of consciousness between realms. If your mind does not have achieved a degree of equanimity, you can't move between realms because the mind is in a state of the static of that realm. You have to neutralize and free the mind from the static of where you are to move to a different place. So any concentration exercise, when taken to an extreme, cultivates a type of equanimity. It always accompanies samadhi. And equanimity is your gateway, your door to dive into different experiences, metaphysically speaking. All right, so we've looked at what are the body mechanics of vital, what are the feeling of vital, and now there's a little bit of psychology involved. When you feel that energy, the mind has to identify, okay, I am the feeling. Now when the mind identifies as the feeling, you forget self and become that frequency. When you forget self and become that frequency, you're now in a situation where you can express your will through that particular frequency, through life force. So your will can influence it. And as your will begins to influence that energy and you're identifying with it, the body mechanics form naturally. So your mind tunes in, you discern, you identify I am, and you start to feel, and you apply your will to what you feel, and you fuse these three and persist, your body mechanics, there it is, that's how I have to move astrally, that's how I have to move vitally, that's how I have to move mentally. There's a different type of mechanical expression. Then the mechanics become the ritual. So you just hit the mechanic and it reverse engineers itself. It goes to the feeling, the mind just logs in to the right place. So this training methodology is really important to understand. Does your school of thought simulate the mechanics to generate the feeling and the mind gets pulled into the right place? Or does it look at what are the metaphysical laws of how the mind has to release time to access the astral, and then to generate the correct feelings as it tunes in, and how does that express itself through the body mechanic? So the three dantians, the three bodies, are always fused inside of this alignment. So our body mechanics for vital: hang the muscles, open the joints, stretch, transfer load from muscle resistance to muscle stretch so the fascia activates. Astral, we release time, we slow everything down with a 4-cycle breath. As you release time, the body is like a cork floating on the ocean. You're flowing inside that feeling of energy. So the mechanics are different. There's a fluidic quality inside the mechanics. When you move to the mental body, it's not restricted by space. So it's pure awareness. So you have to remove the edges of the astral thickness and go, okay, universe is mind, just relax up into pure consciousness, letting go of this astral field. What are the mechanics of that? Well, your body is light like a feather. Your mind moves like a feather. If your mind moves with too much intention, your mental matrix binds in and you get caught in the astral physical qualities. So you've got to dissolve that mental matrix and let the mind move like a feather. So the awareness and buoyancy is up, it's gentle, your balance is high, your head is suspended, your spirit is open and aware, your eyes are bright, and the mechanical feeling, it doesn't have the fluidic quality of the astral. It's light, open and vast. And your body will emulate that lightness, that stretch, that vastness, that present moment awareness, and so forth. So being in the spirit is the fabric of mindfulness, being in the present moment but released of space. If you're not released of space, you're caught by emotional currents, astral feelings, your personality. If you're mindful of them, you watch them from above. So let's revise. We have body mechanics and we have feeling mechanics. You can enter through either with your mind. Your body mechanics for life force: tune the fascia, open the joint, relax, release the muscle, stretch the muscle open to activate fascia. Your feeling is a live, static fluid. It's very quick. You can transfer your body mechanics and mass through that facial web very fast. It's a high-speed conductivity environment. When you're connected between your hand and your foot, something touches your hand, through elasticity it touches your foot. It's instant. It's not a wave down like Tai Chi people do. It's a highly conductive, instantaneous connection of mass between hand and foot, and any point of contact in the ground through your body. When we move to the astral mechanics, it's a cork floating on the ocean. The feeling is very different. The mechanics are different. The feeling's fluidic. The mechanics are hydraulic pressure. You're working through these hydraulics to produce these mechanical waves for whatever Tai Chi form you're practicing. So you can release time to go to the feeling, or you go to the mechanics and time releases. So you can enter through both ways. Using tune the mind, express the feeling, express the mechanics is the fastest method. If you're going the other way, it's very slow. It'll take you a decade to really get to where you want to go. If you're doing the other method, it'll take you a few months to a year to get to where you want to go. Very different training model. But you use your mechanics as a ritual later. So then revising the mental body. As you tune into the mental body, it's released of space, so it's pure consciousness. And because it's pure consciousness, the body is like a feather. It just floats up. It's very, very high and buoyant. The mind is clear and open. The mechanics is very, very, very crisp and aware. It doesn't have the slow release of time, space that the astral chi feeling has. This is much more quick and alert, and it connects more into the intellectual, intuitive balance of the mind, where you have a very sharp mind, intuitively a very sharp mind, intellectually, and these two are balancing each other out to make sense of each other and harmonizing inside one's individual spiritual truths. Okay, so the feeling and the mechanic will blend. When we go to the Akasha, of course, it's released of time and space. There's an infinity quality. There's no boundaries. So the astral feeling of the fluidic flow without a boundary is the Akasha. It's unlimited space, but it's the emptiness underlying form, so it's form dependent in this context. So when you move the form forward through the astral, it has a very similar feeling to the Akasha, but the Akasha is continuous. So the mechanics are the drunken body, and the feeling is not having any edges, so it's like being drunk, and the mind is released of time, space, and it's in a type of infinity. So whichever door you use to train Akasha, of course it's best to train to someone who's got it, and they give you the feeling and guide you through it, and your body remembers, and you hit the mechanics, and then it releases the memory and you can train Akasha. From there, inside Akasha, you suspend the head, you put that emptiness above the crown, you make a prayer, may the path of light guide and protect. And through that, you invite light down through your crown. And because it's non-dual, you can't intend it. But it's highly responsive to Akashic mind that's sitting in emptiness. and it's highly responsive to prayer. So if there's deep humility, deep devotion to spiritual development and the greater good of the group consciousness, there's deep reverence for the practice and the tradition, and it's a sacred thing, the mind becomes extremely still in the prayer, and there's this pressure differential between this deep stillness in yourself and the deity and the light, or whatever your religious belief structure is, which creates a vacuity which pulls light through your three bodies. And if you stretch the dantians and you let the light pass through the crown, you keep reverence, you let it pass through the third eye and mental body, go into the heart, the middle dantian, down into the body of the physical and pass through your feet into the earth. You get this heaven, man, earth alignment of the energy, and you just let it move through you, uninterrupted. In doing so, you have the alchemy of it coming into consciousness, spiritual substance. So then it takes on space as it moves into the astral, and it polarizes all the upper layers of your astral bodies, personalities. Then as it comes into form, it saturates through your cells and it continues to pass into the earth and polarizes the earth under your feet with light. If you practice on the same spot every day, you'll get a type of vortex, a type of light substance in the ground under your feet, and your relationship to the earth will be different if you stand on this place every day and pass light into the earth. It becomes a connection point for heaven and earth, and you're the man in the middle conducting that light through. So it becomes sacred ground. So this understanding of how alchemy moves energy through, you need to go, what is the mind mechanics, what is the feeling mechanics, what is the body mechanics, you synchronize them and you relax between states going up and you relax between states coming down. Now, if you want to produce a particular type of outcome when you bring the light down, you're in Akasha, you make a prayer. You may make a prayer for your divine eye to open so you can see the cause and cure for all diseases, if you're a healer. So you go to this place in the Akasha, you make a prayer to divine light, and you invite that light down into your mental, into your astral, and your physical, and it washes through your field and dissolves the resistance towards your divine eye, seeing the source of disease and the cure to disease within your patients. And this alignment, synchronicity of the three centers will alchemically change your perception. It'll align your perception to that personal, universal truth. Now, it's more personified the more you're locked into a traditional way of thinking, and it's more universal the more open to evolution and growth you are. Things that are personal truth, if you delete them, will not return. You delete Christianity, what's going to come back? Love is going to come back. There's certain aspects of Christianity will come back, but the personal truths of Christianity never return, only the universal. That applies to any religion. If you delete Buddhism and then you let time and let evolution bring it back, mindfulness will come back, samadhi will come back, all the 10 perfections will come back, the core teachings of Buddhism will come back, but all the stories and the side stuff won't come back. So when you're studying alchemy, you're studying any tradition, delete it. And then look at it in spirit and you see the universal truths which come back to you. And this is the way you filter out the BS from the truth. The BS being personal truths, lower truths, and then universal truths being the high universal knowledge. Use the delete method. It works incredibly well, and the spirit can tell you, and your inner knowing go, this is a universal truth. It applies across the board to all systems, all spiritual traditions. This is a personified truth because it's subject only to that religion and that ideology. Okay, so the alchemy, have a close look at the three dantians, the three centers, how your mind tunes in, how the feelings arise from that tuning, and how the body mechanics express themselves. And then once you've developed it, your body mechanic is the ritual to reverse engineer and release the energy in the backward direction. So you don't have to tune the mind and tune the feelings to express through the body mechanics. You hit the body mechanic and the rest just align unconsciously and you get expression. This is the fastest method of alchemically transforming energy up through the the bodies and alchemically bringing energy down through the bodies and invoking different skills from non-dual light into form so that you can get a grasp of what alchemy is, how to use it, and how to apply it to physical alchemy. So physical alchemy is use of plants and herbs and so forth. You invoke the idea, you bring it down into the seed, you charge the seed, and you do this for 3 generations. You plant, you charge the water, you charge the soil, you bless the earth, you bring light into it. 3 generations of that plant producing seeds and replanting, you have a plant which is alchemically ready to produce a magical herb, because each generation goes through shifts when you charge with light and you connect to a spiritual consciousness to move the frequency of the plant into a higher state. The DNA changes, the energy changes, prayer changes things. You need 3 generations of change for alchemical plants for you to make high frequency tinctures and so forth out of that. Because remember, when you're creating a tincture, the vital energy disappears and the form aspect drops away, but the spiritual aspect maintains. The light cannot be destroyed. That light, that higher frequencies of light will stay there during the boiling process and the simmering and so forth of the herbs and how you prepare them. So that we want to put the light into the DNA, into the plant through 3 generations. But that level of alchemy is now going into a different topic. Okay, thank you for your time. I hope this helps with getting a better understanding of alchemy and Qigong and how they connect and how they're fundamentally the same thing. And understanding both will allow you to move through these 2 different paths in a much quicker, faster, more efficient way. Thanks for your time, and see you in the next video.